Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, October the 28th, 2020. It is currently 11:10 a.m. Central Time, and I'm very aware that what I'm about to do is probably going to offend all kinds of people, that I'm probably going to lose a lot of subscribers, that I'm probably going to tick off a lot of people. And the sad part of it is that all the people who decide to no longer subscribe, to stop following me, to stop listening to me, all the people are going to get upset. All the people who are going to email me, a large majority of them are going to do so, clearly demonstrating that they missed the point of this entire episode. All right. A lot of people who are going to get upset, a lot of people are going to get offended. You're going to do so because you're going to miss the actual point of what I'm talking about. Now, I had a certain way that I was going to present this information, and I decided, you know what? I'm not going to present it that way. I'm going to present this as a Bible study exercise, because if I present it that way, I think some people will listen who would not listen if I was going to present it and gave this episode a different title. They wouldn't even bother to listen. And number two, hopefully the title of calling this a Bible study exercise, hopefully this will convince people that I'm not saying what they think I'm saying, right? That I'm not doing what they think I am doing, because I really want this to turn into a situation where everyone who claims to be a Christian, even those who don't claim to be a Christian, that you will take some time to really dig into your Bible or a Bible. They're obviously, whether you own one or if you don't own one, they're available online for free. Use some basic, cross-referencing tools. Use a Bible dictionary. Use some other just basic, study tools, and really spend some time studying what the Bible has to say in regards to the subject of truth. And that's what I really want to accomplish, because anyone and everyone who claims to be a Christian, we have to understand that we supposedly believe that there is a thing called absolute truth. There is truth, there is error. There is truth and there is lies. There is truth and there is misinformation. There is truth and then there's incorrect information. We believe that. We profess that. We proclaim that, right? We tell everyone Christianity is true. Anything that rejects Christianity is false, is a lie. There is one true God. All other gods are false. The Bible is the word of God. It is true. Anything that disagrees with the Bible or goes against the Bible is not true. This is a fundamental, foundational teaching of Christianity. There is truth, but truth is under attack. The very concept of truth is under attack. And listen, first, we can argue that it was under attack outside of the church, that the world began to turn to a relativistic idea that you can have truth and I can have truth. And even though our truths contradict, they can both be true, because basically it's your truth, it's my truth. We all have our truth, and all our truth is true no matter what, because it's our truth. And so they begin to destroy the actual concept of absolute truth and this relativistic mindset. But that relativistic mindset, this kind of misrepresenting truth and misrepresenting the idea, started creeping into the church. And now even many Christians are completely almost an enemy of the concept of truth. And so we've got to get back to it. But the way we're going to get to this topic, and this is what's going to spark all the controversy, is an article that I have in front of me. Now, this article is going to attack Donald Trump. Now, what happened when this article was published, a lot of Trump supporters got very upset. But I think they're missing the point. So I need you to listen to me carefully here. When I read this article, don't focus on what it has to say about Trump. Focus on what it says about truth and how truth is under attack. That's what I want you to focus on. If you just hear, oh, they said a mean thing about Donald Trump and now I have to fight back, you're missing the point. The point is what is happening to truth inside the church, inside Christians. How are many Christians handling the subject of truth? Now, this subject has bothered me for a very, 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 very long time. If I go way back in my podcasting career, way back. Even if I go back to my very short-lived Christian radio career where I got kicked off the air, and I got kicked off the air because I spoke the truth about what was happening in churches, and they didn't want the truth to be spoken because it was offensive to some Christians and some churches, and they were afraid they were going to lose their support. And so I get kicked off the air. Not that because I didn't say something that was true, but because I said something that was true, but that it was offensive. So when Christians whine about the cancel culture of the world, churches have been following the cancel culture for a very long time. But going way, way back to my Christian radio days, my early Christian podcasting days, my news and focus program days on sermon audio, all the different things that I have done, one of the things I have spoken of over and over and over again. In fact, it feels like that I've spoken about it so many times that there's a part of me that I've become weary. And you should not become weary in well-doing. I know that, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I've become discouraged, despondent, weary, and trying because I feel like that no matter how many times I say it, there's Christians out there who just don't get it. And I don't know why. There's times that I start believing that Christianity leads to some kind of mental illness so that Christians lose touch with reality and they don't know how to process facts, logic, and reason. I literally sometimes believe that Christianity leads to a mental health because it's Christians who sometimes don't get it. So if I go way back to those early days, I would over and over again say, hey, people, you're posting this stuff on Facebook. This is absolutely fraudulent information. This is absolutely a hoax. Verify your sources. Verify. Double check. Understand the difference between a primary source and a secondary source. Understand how to verify things. But Christians would spread these things. Christians would spread lies spoken by Alex Jones. There were Christians who were running around claiming that Sandy Hook there were crisis actors and it wasn't a real shooting. All of these just crazy ideas. And whenever you confront them, right, with facts, with verifiable facts, they would say, nope, don't believe those facts. Those facts are not true. How do you know these facts are not true? Because they're basically a part of the conspiracy. And this guy who made a YouTube video in his mom's basement, he's got the truth. I don't know where he comes from and I don't know who he is and I don't know how he got his information. But look, he put a video together and see, it's all not real. It's all not real. And it's like, how can Christians be the one who get caught up in this way of thinking? Because it's Christians who are supposed to say, we care about truth. It's Christians who say, we condemn false information. We condemn lying. It's Christians who supposedly believe that, right? I'll just quickly, I think I have a Bible right here in front of me. Before we get even to an article, I wanted to get to the scriptures later, but I think this is a good time to just jump right in and give you some scriptural foundation before we even get started. Ephesians chapter 4, very important verse for in the ministry of this church. It's kind of become a theme verse for this church since the very beginning. Ephesians chapter 4 speaks of Christ. He gave some apostles, prophets, evangelists, and some pastors and teachers. He gave this to the church. And why did he give it to the church? For the perfecting or the equipping of the saints, for the work of ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. Pastor's job is to equip Christians so that they can do ministry. That's what the church is for. If you don't come to church to be equipped for ministry and you come because you want fun, food, and fellowship, you probably should just stay home because you don't really want a church. You want a community center and an activity center. Okay, but that's a whole different story. Verse 13, and this perfecting, this equipping of the saints should continue until we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God unto a perfect man, and that's the idea of a complete man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. And this should continue until you're no longer tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. There are people out there who want to deceive you. There are people out there who will lie to you. Christians are the ones who are supposed to exercise discernment. Christians are the ones who are supposed to go, no. We're not going to fall for the lies. We're not going to fall for the misinformation. We're not going to fall for the deceit because we're going to get to the truth. The one place that the world should look to and go like, when you're looking for truth and you're looking for facts and you're looking for correct information, I know there's only one place I can turn to. That's Christians. No, that's not the way it works anymore. Now, people out there going, don't listen to Christians because they're absolutely insane and they will share on social media the most fraudulent information known to man, and they cannot be trusted. Well, when you can no longer be trusted, then you're not salt and light. You are darkness spreading darkness. Okay, you're doing the work of Satan, who's the father of lies. You're doing the work of Satan when you spread false information. You should repent of that. Don't get mad at me. You are doing the work of Satan. Now, so all this quipping should go on. And look at what it says in verse 15. But speaking the truth in love, we may grow up into him all things, which is the head of even Christ. We are to speak the truth in love. We are to speak truth. Now, if you continue on in Ephesians, if you go over to verse 25, Ephesians 4:25, this is what we should do. And if you look at verse 24, put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. What is the sign of the new man? What is the sign of the regenerate, saved man? What we should do is we should be putting on the reality of being saved. And what should it look like? You put away lying. You put away speaking lying. You don't speak lying words. You don't speak fraudulent words. You don't speak hoaxes. You don't speak misinformation. You don't fall for that. What are you to do? You're to speak every man truth with his neighbor. You should be speaking truth. When Christians are on social media promoting false and fraudulent information, you are doing the work of Satan. You're not showing yourself as being regenerate and putting on the new man. You're speaking lies. And I don't know why Christians never catch on to this. Look, I don't care what information you post. If you have some issue with vaccines, right? If you have issues with vaccines, okay, and you're a part of the no vaccine camp and you're anti-vaccine, okay, whatever. Here's what I can tell you. If you post stuff if you're a Christian and you post stuff on the internet that is proven to be fraudulent, if you post studies that have now been corrected, rejected, are found to be wrong, and you're posting that, you are a liar. You say, well, I don't mean to be a liar. Well, you have the responsibility. You're the one hitting the post button. So you check and verify. You double check. And you don't just look for people who agree with you. You don't go, hey, I believe in anti-vaccine information, and on an anti-vaccine website, I was given information, and so I'm going to post that information. Well, you better go look at other websites and verify and check and double check and verify the information is true. You have a responsibility to do that. Now, I don't care. I'm not here to argue with you about vaccines, okay? And I hate when I mention vaccines, the anti-vaccine people want to attack me. Hey, just back off. Because if there's anyone who would have issues with vaccines, it would be me, because my entire life has been changed and in many aspects ruined because of a vaccine. Almost died because of a vaccine. I have seizures on a regular, consistent basis because of a vaccine. All right. But that's the point is, I understand that no matter my personal feelings about what happened to me and the things that I still currently experience as a result of what happened to me, as a result of a vaccine, make it listen to me very, 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 very carefully, that my personal feelings doesn't change truth. Truth is what matters. I'm overemphasizing that probably in an irritating way. Truth is what matters. Not my personal feeling. So I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's about COVID. I don't care if it's about vaccines. I don't care if it's about Trump. I don't care if it's about a mass shooting. I don't care if it's about guns. I don't care what it is. Speak truth. That is what you are commanded as a Christian. And if you're putting fraudulent, fake information, questionable information, you're misrepresenting information, or you're throwing out statistical numbers that are misrepresented and you don't even understand the statistics, you don't even go bother to actually do any actual research about them, then you are part of the problem. Let me state it again. You are doing the work of Satan. He is the father of lies. He deceives. His whole game is deception. We're supposed to be light, not darkness. We're supposed to be truth, not lies. We're supposed to be correct information, not misleading information. The world should look to us. And sadly to say, I hate to say this. I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it. I know you're going to get offended by it. But you know what? I I've basically reached a point in my Christian life that I will believe an atheist before I believe a Christian. If two people come up to me and say, hey, did you hear about, and they give me information, you a Christian? I don't believe you. You're an atheist? I will trust you. You think I'm using hyperbole, but I've basically reached that point because Christians constantly, you see them posting things on the internet, and you're like, that's just an absolute fraudulent lie, hoax, misinformation. Why are you posting that? And then they get mad at you. I can get in my car and turn on Christian radio, and usually by the time I get from my house to the church, or from the church back to my house, I've probably heard some kind of misinformation, fraudulent information on Christian radio, especially when they talk about politics or COVID. It's like, that's just fraudulent as all day. And I'd rather, in many cases, I feel I can get a better chance of hearing truth on NPR than I can on Christian radio. That's not the way it should be. Why? So truth is literally being under attack. Christians have declared a war on truth. Christians have. That's frightening. That's right. It's almost like Christians are saying, what is truth? What is truth? And you know what Bible passage I'm referring to there? Gospel of John, a certain man by the name of Pilate. You probably know where I'm going there. So I'm going to give you this article. Now, the article is about Trump. Let me make it very clear. But I think they're only talking about Trump in relation to talking about the subject of truth. I want us to think about this in light of truth, not Trump. That's why I'm spending all of this time with my intro. Now, some of you are laughing because I do this with all of my intros. I know that. But I'm really purposely doing it this time because I want everyone to be thinking about truth. If I just started reading the article, everyone would start thinking about Trump. Forget Trump being the author of this article using Trump. Maybe they hate Trump. They're attacking Trump. I'm worried about the subject of truth. That is what I'm worried about. All right. Here we go. All right. Again, you can read this article as well on the theologycentral.net blog, theologycentral.net, theologycentral.net, theologycentral.net. Go to the blog section. I'm really going to try to put a lot more stuff on the blog. I really want people using our pod page. We pay $15 a month for a pod page, $15 a month. We've got two of them, the VBC pod page and the Theology Central pod page. That's money. And so we want you using them as much as possible. All right, here we go. All right. And these pod pages have basically been funded by listeners who have sent me money. So I want to thank the listeners who have done that because that really helps. It allows us to get more. It gives us another tool. And I'm trying to use every tool. I'm trying to use every tool I have. I really am. I'm trying my best. Okay. So here we go. Here is the headline. Christian, again, theologycentral.net, go to the blog section. Christian Witness demands that we defend truth and reject Donald Trump. Now, again, you're going to focus on the rejecting Donald Trump. Stop focusing on that. Pay attention. Christian Witness demands that we defend truth. That's the part I want you to focus on, all right? Now, here's what they have to say. Once we no longer care about the truth, our own deliberations become corrupt. I want you to hear that. Once you and I no longer care about truth, our own deliberations become corrupt. When the positions we take and the policies we advocate are not restrained by truth, it no longer seems to matter how we bring about our agenda. All that matters is that we win. And this is what happens when you get into arguments with people. If you don't care about truth, if your argument, if your ideas, if your beliefs are not restrained by truth, then all you care about is looking for any information, no matter how suspect it is, no matter how fraudulent it is, because you're more worried about winning an argument than you are about truth. As Christians, you have to worry more about truth, even if it makes you wrong. You don't worry about you being right. You don't worry about you being wrong. You don't worry about winning. It's about truth. Only thing you care about is truth winning. Truth is what matters. I have stood behind the pulpit and preached certain things and then later changed my position because I don't care about how I look. I don't care if I look, he changed his mind or he was wrong. I don't care. If I care about me, then I need to stop being a Christian because Christianity is about something other than me. It's about the gospel. It's about truth. It's about the scriptures. Right? We have to worry about truth, whether it makes us right or whether it makes us wrong. I hope that makes sense. All right, let's continue on here. Right, as a matter of policy, I need you now. You're getting ready to get mad here, but listen carefully. And the reason I say you get mad because I know probably 90% of the listeners are Trump supporters, and so I don't want this to become a political thing. But they're going to speak about Trump, but we're going to focus on what they have to say about truth. So listen, as a matter of policy, President Trump's administration treats truth as merely a function of power. This manifests as a consistent effort to call into question, mock, or deny the possibility of objective truth, to sow distrust, to entertain conspiracies and rumors, and to promote the use of propaganda to undermine public discourse and to fatigue us with uncertainty. Now, those are big claims. Those are big claims, but let's remove it from President Trump. How often do Christians call into question, mock, and seem to deny the possibility of objective truth when it comes to some very important issues? They almost like, nope, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. Oh, you can't trust that. You can't trust that. You can't trust that. It begins to sow distrust. As Christians, we begin to entertain conspiracies and rumors to promote the use of propaganda, to undermine public discourse, and we begin to have a fatigue. It begins to fatigue all of us with uncertainty that we can't believe anything. All right? Now, when we say conspiracies, I know some people will say, well, there's people who conspire. We're not talking about just the idea of people conspiring. We're not talking of a conspiracy idea that there's a large number of people who are all conspiring to do A, B, C, D, E, and you have very little proof to prove that, because you got to prove that all of these people are involved in it, like the whole medical world. The whole medical world is there to deceive us in regards to COVID-19. Because they all are being controlled by the elite who created this whole hoax. Like, come on. The whole medical world are out to do this. Well, then prove it. Prove it. Prove it. That's all you got to do. But any evidence that is contrary, then you can't believe the evidence. That's what I'm talking about. This begins to destroy the very concept of absolute truth, of logic, of reason, of thinking. Now, they believe the Trump administration done that. I will agree that Trump has said some crazy, whacked out things. I believe all. Look, here's my view. My view is so cynical, and nobody likes my view, but I don't trust all politicians. I think the entire political system is a game. The political system manipulates the truth, misrepresents the truth, lie, deceive, and say whatever they want to manipulate you into giving them power. You are simply a tool they use for their advantage. They're not there serving the people, by the people, for the people. The people are simply used. We are simply used for them to get power, and they throw certain things that we want at us so that we'll keep giving them power. I think the entire system is corrupt. The entire system is dirty. I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't like any of it. So I'm not going to sit there and say Trump is the only one who sees, how did they state this? That Trump administration treats truth as merely a function of power. Man, yeah, Trump has said some crazy, outlandish, just flat out lies. Okay. But I think many politicians have done the same thing. All right. They say 2 cancerous outcomes are produced by this policy. The way that the Trump administration basically is, all these things that they've done to question, mock, deny the possibility of objective truth, to sow distrust, to entertain conspiracies and rumors, to promote the use of propaganda, to undermine public discourse, and to fatigue us with uncertainty. They say 2 cancerous outcomes are produced by this policy. This way of acting, this way of talking, this way of thinking produces 2 cancerous outcomes. Number 1, our social order is weakening as belief in the possibility of objective truth and our ability to discover and communicate it collapses. When you say you can't believe anything and you can't trust anything, then basically our social order will be weakened as the belief and the possibility of objective truth and our ability to discover and communicate it collapses. If you can't trust anything and you can't believe anything, then everything begins to collapse because no one can find objective truth. So then guess what happens? When objective truth falls in the streets, right? When objective truth is found behind the building with 3 bullets in its head, then guess what happens? Everyone starts doing right in their own eyes because they figure out what truth is, and then they live according to their truth, their understanding of truth based off a couple of videos on YouTube that someone made in their mom's basement. Then that's how they decide how they're going to function. Even though there's information that contradicts what they said, they don't care. They don't care because now their truth supersedes other truth. So if you believe that the mask don't work, and that's your truth, then you will literally not wear a mask, possibly putting other people's lives at danger because your truth trumps anyone else's truth. And the person wearing the mask going, I've got statistics saying they work. I don't care if they work. I don't believe they work. So then you do what you want because all you care about is your truth. You don't care about objective truth. In response to which we retreat into identity groups and self-preservation. So that's what happens. When everything begins to collapse, we retreat into identity groups and self-preservation. It becomes about us. It becomes about our group. Our group has truth. Your group doesn't have truth because it just becomes about my truth versus your truth because we don't have objective truth. We have no way to check anything. Second, So basically what happens, the idea of social conservatism is abandoned for the sake of short-term pragmatic gains. So what happens is you start really, in other words, you forget principles and you just focus on pragmatic gains. Hey, we'll sacrifice this concept of truth so that we can get a pragmatic gain and gain a little bit of power or gain advantage here. But once you sacrifice truth so that you can get a pragmatic gain, you're no longer acting like a Christian because Christians should never sacrifice truth for pragmatic gains. But I will tell you, the church has been doing that for a long time. Hey, we'll downplay truth so pragmatically we can grow as a church so that we can have more influence and we can get along with more people. Well, no, you never sacrifice truth for pragmatic gains because then you're left with no truth. By its very nature, falsehood breeds chaos. To support Trump would require me to support 4 more years of absolute chaos. I fear that if we were to support his reelection, even grudgingly, eventually I would find myself apologizing for his lies and then excusing his lies and then defending his lies and finally believing his lies. Better men and women than I have grown confused in just this way since 2016. Now look at what he says here. If you start supporting Trump, this is his argument. This is what happens. You grudgingly, you find yourself apologizing for his lies. Well, I'm sorry that he's got a loose, relationship with the truth. But you know what? We didn't elect someone to be a pastor. We didn't elect someone to be a saint. So even though he gets the truth wrong sometimes, it's okay. Then you begin to excuse his lies. So you go from apologizing for it, then you excuse it, then you defend his lies, and then finally you start believing his lies. Well, that's how lies work. Christians, you should never apologize for it. You should never accept it. You should never defend it. You should never be confused by it. You want truth. And guess what? You want truth more than pragmatic political gain. You want truth more than anything else. As a Christian, you have to care about the truth above all else. You have to. And again, I'm going to say all politicians have these problems. All right, let's see here. They go on here, and they have a long. Okay, I'll just read part of this. Our country, Trump lies weakens our social order. Our country was already experiencing a crisis prior to the administration. Donald Trump has dramatically embraced and accelerated this crisis through his evident belief that truth is a function of power. For Trump, everything is propaganda. Everything is spin. The only question is whether it is our spin or their spin. Anything is possible and nothing is certain. QAnon may be correct that Trump is saving children from pedophiles and Satanists among the elite, and a pandemic that has so far killed 200,000 Americans may not be that bad. Actually, who is to say? Who can even know? We can't trust the media. We can't trust the state, which is out to get Trump. We can't even trust our own eyes. So in other words, hey, this may be true. In other words, at some point, you don't know what to believe because Trump that's the way he kind of works, right? Like, well, that could be true. And say almost he undermines the very concept of absolute truth. And in many cases, he won't speak what's absolutely true because he wants the support and political power. So a pragmatic gain at the sacrifice of truth. But I'm telling you, I think all politicians play this game. All politicians do. This article is focused on Trump. You should just write this about all politicians. All right? And let me read that again to you because I want you to hear that. The only question is whether it's our spin or their spin. Anything is possible and nothing is certain. Please note that. That's almost the way Americans think. Anything is possible and nothing is certain. QAnon may be correct that Trump is saving children from pedophiles and Satanists among the elite. And a pandemic that has so far killed 200,000 Americans, it's probably not that bad. Killed over 1 million people, maybe it's not that bad, right? Maybe not. Maybe, possibly, because there's no certainty. Anything is possible and nothing is certain. Actually, who is to say? Who can even know? You can't trust the media. You can't trust the state, which is out to get Trump. You can't even trust your own eyes. You can't even trust your own reason. You can't trust anything. We have to know this about Donald Trump for a long time. Between his zealous quest to find Barack Obama's real birth certificate, to his musings about vaccines and autism, to his insinuations about Ted Cruz's father, Trump has displayed a showman's love for playing with truth as if it was a raw material that can warp at will to promote his interests. It doesn't matter what he's going after. He will take truth, warp it to fit his own agenda. He's done it 1 million times. For Trump, everything is propaganda. Everything is spin. The only question is, whose spin? Your spin, our spin, their spin. Why is it that Trump supporters overlook such a long and distinguished record of lies and conspiracy theories? Some reason that if the media and the Democrats won't be honest, we need someone to wield the power of unrestrained propaganda for our benefit, to save America and to protect our freedoms. Others hoped to contain Trump's influence. Sure, he's going to lie about the size of his inauguration crowd, but what does it really matter so long as he's improving the economy and defending religious liberty? It matters a great deal. There is no way to isolate the effects of a chronically deceptive president. They spread. White House staff are compelled to keep up the deception. Senators wave away evidence of the administration's lies as fake news, not even bothering to give a rebuttal. Trump supporters become convinced that masks don't work and that there is no pandemic and that the entire world is just out to ruin Trump's reelection despite nearly 400,000 Americans hospitalized and over 200,000 dead. Cable news and social media have given us a host of new celebrities whose entire careers are devoted to defending the president. State agencies have been forced to pressured to alter what they believe to be true in order to fit the agenda of the president. And then they go through and they offer all kinds of information here. And I'm not going to read the rest of the article. All right, you get the idea. Please go read it all for yourself. And again, what people are going to hear is they're going to say, I got to defend Trump. I got to defend Trump. No, you don't. What you need to do is worry about what is happening to the idea of truth. That's what I want you to be concerned with. That's what I want you to be worried about. Truth is under attack. And what does the Bible specifically tell you to do? Put away lying and speak the truth. Put away lying and speak the truth. You need to find the truth. And I hate the fact that in 2020, I do hate the fact. And I feel bad for every person. I want to make this very clear. I feel bad for every person because it's absolutely a crazy time to be alive. You don't know. At times you feel like you don't know what to believe. You really do. You don't know, like, do I believe this? Do I believe that? You've got so much information. Because of the internet and because of social media, you are bombarded with claims. People are posting this on Facebook. People are posting this on Twitter. They're posting this on whatever social media platform you may find yourself. They're sending you text. You're bombarded with this and this and this and this. And it's overwhelming to go, okay, I got to go try to verify this. I got to try to go check this. Okay, is this true or not true? And at some point, what happens, it starts feeling like that you don't know that anything is possible and that nothing is certain. And when nothing is certain, then the idea of absolute truth begins to fall. Or in a sense, absolute truth is taken out behind back and shot. And once absolute truth doesn't exist, then everything falls apart, especially for Christianity, because we operate under the position that truth not only exists, it is absolute, and that the idea of truth is connected to the very nature and attribute of God himself, who is the God of truth. So we need to establish this. So here is what I want you to do. I want you to find 10 verses in the Bible, just 10, that speak of the importance of truth, speaks about God hating lying lips, anything about truth and lies, right? 10, find good ones, right? And really look at them. Look at the context. And I want you to write out just a little summary. What does the Bible teach us about truth? Right? What does the Bible teach us about truth and lying? All right. Truth. So 10 verses about truth and lying, just 10. You can have 5 about truth, 5 about lying, whatever. You can find more if you want. You can find 10 of each if you want. And then just write out a summary. What does the Bible clearly teach us about truth and lying? And then ask yourself, what can you do that the principle of truth is prominent in your life? What can you do? All right, so find 10 verses, write out a summary, and then write out a short application of what you can do to make truth prominent in your life. I would also ask you to look up a Bible dictionary entry for the word truth. Let me just give you an example of why this is important. All right, I'm going to reach over here and grab Nelson's New Illustrated Bible Dictionary. I'm going to turn to page, what page is this? 1279, and there's an entry here for the word truth. Listen to what it says. Truth, are you ready? Conformity to fact or actuality. Faithfulness to an original or to a standard. I want you to stop right there. Here's what truth is. I want every Christian to hear this. Truth is conformity to fact or actuality. All right? It's a conformity to fact or actuality. What is actual? What is true? What is a fact? You are to conform your thinking. You are to conform and submit your thinking to what is fact, what is actual, not hearsay, not rumor, not made up stuff because someone told you this is true. If I get another person, give me some secondhand, third-hand information about something related to COVID and then act like that's true. And then I spend hours calling every medical person I know after 22 years of working in the medical world. And I'm like, that's not, nope. Trying to call hospitals. I've tried to do as much research as I can to figure out things. Now, sometimes you call and you don't get any information. You can't get any information, but you do what you can and nothing. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable when you're promoting things that you don't even know are true. You have to care about facts. You have to care about what's actual, right? But I've tried to do as much research for every claim that I've seen. I've tried to go, well, let me go verify this. Let me see if I can call here. Let me do this. Let me research this. Let me look this up. Let me send this email. Let me try to do whatever I can. And then you get nothing. Not a thing. Nothing at all. And I can't find anything to back up the information. But if I try to tell anyone that, they're like, I know what I know, because anything is possible and nothing is certain. And so their truth trumps any other truth. You, as Christians, we have to get to the idea that we must conform to truth, to facts, to what is actual. All right, let me read that definition again. All right. Here's the Bible dictionary definition of truth. Conformity to fact or actuality. Faithfulness to an original or to a standard. In the Old and New Testaments, truth, listen, is a fundamental moral and personal quality of God. Now, if truth is a fundamental moral and personal quality of God, and we are supposed to be conformed to the image of God, right? if we're going to conform ourselves to the image of God, then guess what must be true of you and I? Truth should be a fundamental moral and personal quality of you and I. And guess what? We're come from the womb speaking lies. Lying is a part of our sinful nature. Deception is inside of us. We deceive our own selves. Look, we as individuals, we have a hostile relationship to truth. That's in our nature. But truth is a fundamental moral and personal quality of God. The Bible dictionary goes on to say, God proclaimed that he is merciful and gracious, long-suffering, and abounding in goodness and truth. Exodus 34:6. He is a God of truth, without injustice. Deuteronomy 32:4. Furthermore, all his paths are mercy and truth. Psalm 25:10. Frequently in the Psalms, God's mercy and his truth are joined together. Psalm 57:3, Psalm 89:14, Psalm 115:1. All of God's works, precepts, and judgments are all done in righteousness and truth. So I want you to see how God, I think that's a very good place to start your little exercise, your study. Find out how God is connected to truth. And if truth is a fundamental moral and personal attribute of God, personal characteristic of God, he is the God of truth, then if you are a Christian, you should care about truth. You should do everything you can to submit yourself to truth. You should do everything in your power, everything in your power, everything you can to find what facts are, what's actuality, and actually submit yourself to it in a meaningful way. Now, again, the article talks about Trump, and you can read about that, and you can. I'm not here to argue about Trump, okay? That's the one thing I'm not going to do, okay? Because that's pointless, useless, and futile. You think Trump is the greatest man in the history of the world? Then so be it. But I'm telling you this, no matter how great he is, when he misrepresents the facts, he doesn't get the facts right, and he lies, and he misrepresents, and he throws out crazy theories that are no facts to back it up, you have to condemn it as a Christian. You have to speak against it. If Biden says things that are fraudulent and misrepresent, you have to speak against it as a Christian. And it's not because of a political affiliation. What you should tell the world is we don't care about political affiliation. As Christians, we care about truth. And anyone who speaks lies and misrepresents things, we are going to speak out against it. We are going to condemn it. If it's on Christian radio, I don't care if it's about COVID. I don't care what it's about. If they give out fraudulent information, Christians we should not tolerate misrepresentation, crazy theories within Christianity. That's the one place should be free. We should be a lie, misrepresentation, misinformation free zone. The church should be the place. I'll give you an example. And this is even back before our culture, before the church became so completely, it seems, void of any ability to think. I'll give you two examples, all right? Example number one. I was sitting in a church in Papillion, Nebraska. The pastor got up there and he went on a full-blown rant on Promise Keepers. Basically acting like Promise Keepers was, out to destroy American Christianity. He hated Promise Keepers. Okay, but he stated some things about Promise Keepers that as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's not right. That's misinformation. That is wrong information. So we went home. We called. I have a tendency to do that, especially if you send me information. Don't think I'm just going to take your word for it. I'm calling. I'm checking. Okay, because that's what I do. All right. So guess what? He said all this information. We called and spoke to people in the Promise Keepers ministry. We got information back from them, and they clearly demonstrated that information was wrong, that information was fraudulent. And then I took it to my pastor, who was not happy to be confronted that he spoke on the pulpit absolute lies and misinformation, completely fraudulent misinformation. Now, listen, it's one thing to misspeak, right? All pastors can do that. You say it in an incorrect way. You say this and you don't have all your information. Okay, that's not necessarily a planned deception. That's just the dangers of communication, right? Whenever I speak, there's always, I could say it in an incorrect way. I misstated this. I got the name wrong. We're all possible. We're all possible. We're all vulnerable to that. That's a possibility with everyone. Okay. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you launch a full-blown attack upon a ministry and you state certain things dogmatically as being true, and you didn't bother to do your research. That's something different. That's almost a willful lie, a willful misrepresentation of fact. So I confronted. That didn't go well. Didn't make the pastor like me. He didn't seem appreciative of the fact that I was trying to protect him from speaking false things from the pulpit. Nope. Didn't seem to matter in any way, shape, or form. That's a situation which is just just wrong information, just a right out lie, just a right out lie. Another example. We move here to Texas. We're visiting churches. We visit a church on a Sunday night, and the pastor says, "Hey, there's this atheist woman who's trying to get Christian television banned from the airwaves." Right? And I'm like, what? That's a lie. It's a fraud. This was a lie created by atheists to make Christians look stupid. This is not true. I'm like, there's no way he's going here. And he's like, this woman, and the woman that he was mentioning was dead, so there's no way she could be trying to get Christian television removed from the airwaves because she was dead. Now, personally, I believe if you got Christian TV removed from the airwaves, it'd probably be better for everyone, the world and Christianity. But that's a whole different subject. Okay, so he's claiming this woman's trying to get Christian television removed from the airwaves. The woman is dead, so there's no way she can do so. So I'm like, where is he going with this? And then he places a petition at basically the altar in front of the church and says, hey, after service, come up here and sign this petition. And I'm sitting there going, this cannot be happening. This cannot be happening. Because there was already information that the federal government was getting all of these petitions signed by Christians, and they were like, they don't know why they were receiving them because it was a hoax. It was a hoax created by atheists to mock Christians, to make us look stupid, that we would buy into anything. Now, that's the point. Why would Christians buy into a hoax? Why would Christians buy into misinformation? Because Christians should be the first to go, I'm sorry, where did you get this information, Pastor? Because before I sign a petition, I'm going to verify that this information is 100% accurate. No Christian should sign anything until you know the information is accurate, but they did not. So that's it happening in a church. But see, this is how much it bothers me. This is how, and you may think I'm obsessed with this, but I think all Christians should be obsessed with truth. We should care about truth. When I worked off at Air Force Base, well, I always say I worked at Offutt Air Force Base. The hospital wasn't actually located on the military installation. Erling-Berquist Regional Hospital was located about 2 miles from the actual base. When I worked there for 10 years, 11 years, however many years I was there, I had a policy that when new airmen came in, I said, look, because I had a supervisor. When I first got to Offutt Air Force Base and I walked into the medical records place where I was going to start working, my boss put us all in the car, all these new airmen, and he took us out in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know where we were going. I'm like, why are we leaving like the city? Is he going out to kill us? What are we going to do? And he pulls the car over and says, get out of the car. And we get out of the car and he says, look at that. And I'm like, and he said, what does that say? And I'm like, Omaha city limits. And he's like, right. It says Omaha. It's not your home. Don't compare it to your home. It's not your last base. Don't compare it to your last base. So don't sit here and whine and complain that you're not home. This is where you are. Make the most of it. I don't want to hear any complaining about that this place doesn't have blah, 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 blah. You're here. Make the most of it instead of wasting your time here whining about it. All right. So that had a profound impact on me. I'm like, that's pretty good, right? Here. I'm in Nebraska. I'm no longer in Texas. I'm no longer, whether I want to be where I am, it doesn't matter. I'm going to make the most here because wasting a second is wasting life. I said, that's a great message. So I get this female airman who starts working for me. And all she wants to do every day is whine and complain that Omaha is horrible, that Omaha is some hick town in the middle of nowhere. These backwoods hicks, this place is stupid, and garbage, all day long. And I got so sick of hearing it. I told her to stop complaining And I would try my best to counter her arguments with, well, okay, what are you looking for? Well, one of her major arguments, she had two major arguments that she gave me in this particular encounter that we had one night when I was getting really irritated, because she was bad morale for everyone in the work office and I was getting sick of it. So I said, okay, give me the two things that you hate so much. One, she claimed that the malls in Omaha, I think, closed at 9, where she lived, the malls closed at 10. Whoa, I mean, like, you got to hate Omaha because that 1 hour difference in mall time, that is enough to hate an entire state, okay? So already the argument is foolish, but that just means she was reaching. That just means she was reaching all day long, right? I mean, she was reaching. Her second argument is that the bookstores in Omaha don't carry some book on witchcraft. It was some kind of an occultic book. And that the bookstores and the malls where she lived carry these occult books, but not there. So I was like, okay. So, all right. I said, thank you. I appreciate that you have given me some very important things to think about. I immediately walked out, went across the hall, went over to the appointment line, went to their phones, picked up their phones, and I called. And first I looked up the phone numbers for the malls and the place she came from, called them, said, what time do you close? We close at 9. All right. So she just gave me fraudulent misinformation. Second, I said, okay, I need the number. I need to be transferred to the bookstore in your mall. So they transferred me to the bookstore. Hey, do you carry this book? Yeah. I called. So I called the mall there. Find out their time. They close at the same time. Get transferred to the bookstore. Do you carry this book? And they're like, oh, well, no, we don't actually have that in stock, but we can order it for you. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I said, is there any other bookstore in this mall? Yes, there's one other. So I called there. Nope, we don't have the book. So that means both bookstores did not carry the book. They could order it. Both of them closed at 9. I pick up the phone. I start calling malls in Omaha. Okay. Well, I know what time they close. They close at 9. So the same time. And guess what? I think, I can't remember how many malls are in Omaha, but I think in 2 of the malls, I found the book. I think there was one mall that I didn't find the book, but in Omaha, they had a bookstore that was basically like an occult bookstore, and they had multiple copies of the book. So I go back to the female, right? Now, she's been talking all this garbage in front of everyone. So in front of everyone, I say, hey, I just called your mall back where at home. Guess what time they close? Oh, they close at the same time all the malls in Omaha close. Oh, and by the way, this book, guess what? They don't carry it. But I did find this book available right now. In fact, I'll allow you to leave work and go. They carry this book in the book in the mall in Omaha. And here are the 2 malls, and here's the occult bookstore that carries it. Oh, guess how she responded? Oh, she got mad. She got ticked off. She basically almost broke down in tears, ran out of the room, all mad, all upset because I embarrassed her. Well, I embarrassed you because you're making lies and saying absolute nonsense. Okay, look, it's not your home. You want to be home. I can't help you. You join the military. They tend to send you places you don't live. So get over it. Okay, but if you're going to sit here and have your reasons for hating Omaha, at least have 3 facts straight. At least have, and all the other, and she tried to give me a whole list of things. And every one of them I called, I did this, I did research, and I went back and I think out of 10 things she gave me, 9 of them were completely fraudulent. Completely wrong. I think she had one thing that was halfway legitimate, and it was like something rare, pretty insignificant. There was some, I think, place to eat that they had where she did that wasn't available in Omaha. And I think within like a year it was available in Omaha, if I remember correctly. It was some restaurant or food chain. And I was like, okay, finally we get to one thing that I can't draw the distinction between. But the point is these are situations where people were just speaking things that were not true. They were just lying. And Christians have to be the one to defend against it. We have to be the one to speak against it. Now, you could argue I shouldn't have argued with the female. Yeah, I could have. Trust me, I know I could have handled it in a better way. When I was younger, I was far more combative and right in your face. Now I know there's a time to fight and there's a time just to let people. You know, there's a time now. I've learned a little bit better of that concept of being as wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. There's sometimes now people email me and I'm not even going to go there. No point in fighting. All it's going to do is hurt them. It's not going to be beneficial. I've learned not to do that because because sometimes that's you're trying to win an argument. Look, here's the thing. With her, I was trying to win an argument more than I cared about truth. So therefore, I was wrong. Right? I was wrong. I didn't care about truth. I cared about destroying her because she was saying fraudulent information, and she was causing a major problem at work and giving everyone a bad morale, and I wanted to destroy it. So I wasn't really even approaching that from a Christian perspective. I was approaching it more, I'm in charge, and I'm sick of the morale in this place and everyone complaining 24/7 about living here. I want this to stop, and I'm going to make it stop right now. I was doing it more out of fleshly anger than a godly care about truth. Concern about truth. Now, on the both issues in the church, when I confronted churches, I think my attitude was a little bit better because I handled it in private. I think I handled it a little bit better. Probably was still too combative even there because it takes a little bit of time to learn some of these concepts. But I've always cared about truth. Now, listen, that doesn't mean I've always been great at it because I've misrepresented things. I've lied. Man, when I was young, I was horrible at it. Oh my goodness. I would tell lies. I would make up all kinds of stories because I didn't like the way I grew up. I didn't like the way my family was. I was embarrassed by all the problems in my family. And so I would make up all kinds of stories. I don't even know half the stories I told. I lied about where I was from, claimed I wasn't even from Texas. I misrepresent things. And that was because I was trying to create a reality that was better than the reality I lived. Now, a lot of that was done before I became a Christian, but even after a Christian, I struggled with many of those issues for a very long time. And I had to struggle about truth. That's what the Bible emphasizes. So I think right now, considering we're staring down an election and we're looking at a world where truth, I'm telling you, truth has been destroyed. Truth has been shot, burned, drowned, ran over with a truck, fed to a pack of hungry lions. Truth is in tatters. It's in pieces. I don't even know if there's any. I think maybe there's just ashes left of truth. Christians have to be the ones to say, look, the world is a world that is in absolute darkness, a world that is overcoming complete and utter deception, a world that is so confused, and a world where everyone's running around doing what is right in their own eyes. There's got to be some place. There's got to be an oasis. There's got to be a lighthouse. And the church has to be the place saying, hey, look, we struggle with truth too. We have a heart that's desperately wicked and deceitful above all things. We're not always the best, but we care about truth. And so come here and we will try to find truth. We will look for truth. We will search for truth. We will defend truth. We will support one another in struggling with truth. We were going to do our best to find it, but there's got to be a place there's got to be a refuge for truth. There's got to be a sanctuary for truth. There's got to be a place of protection for truth, and it's got to be Christians. So I plead with you, take the time. I know when I give these Bible study exercises that nobody thinks they're important. This is so critical. You need a clear biblical understanding of truth. A clear biblical understanding of truth. You need that, all right? Let me go back to that dictionary entry real quick, and I'll end with this. Let me find it here. All right, getting all the way back here. I'm looking. There's trade. There's transfiguration. Tribe. Truth. Here we go. Truth. All right. Let me read this to you again. Truth. Conformity to fact or actuality. Faithfulness to an original or to a standard. In the Old and New Testament, truth is a fundamental moral and personal quality of God. In the Old and New Testaments, truth is a fundamental moral and personal quality of God. So those are the things, I really want you to get these ideas down. What is truth? It's a conformity to fact or actuality. Faithfulness to an original or to a standard. All right? In the Old and New Testament, truth is a fundamental moral and personal quality of God. For the Christian, truth is really conformity to God. If you really think about it, as Christians, we define truth in a very special way. God is truth, and truth is conforming ourselves to God. God is actual. He is real. We conform ourselves to God. And because we care about a God who is truth, then we care about truth, and then we seek truth in every aspect and area of life. And we want to speak truth in every area of life, no matter what it is. I don't care if it's vaccines. I don't care if it's politics. I don't care if it's COVID. I don't care if it's about you claiming that in your city, the mall stays open till 10 when in reality it doesn't. Whatever the case may be, wherever you may, I don't care what the subject is. We have to care about truth. Now, yes, we need to speak truth in love, right? We need to confront people in a godly way. I've not always done that. I'm going to sit here and admit my own mistakes. I've not always played fair with. I've not always had a good relationship with the truth. I've misrepresented things. I've not always done that. And you can look in your own life where you didn't necessarily tell the truth. But we need to care about truth and need to speak the truth. So do a Bible study exercise on truth. Find 10 verses about truth and lies. Summarize what you learn in the Bible about truth. Now you could do a topical study and do a full-blown topical study. If you don't know how to do a topical study, let me know and I can give you the steps of a topical study. Topical study is very important method of Bible study. And then write down an application of what you're going to do to make truth a better principle in your life. And then look up a Bible dictionary entry on the subject of truth. All right? And really focus on how truth is connected to God. I think that's critical to a biblical understanding of the subject. All right, I'll stop right there. All right. That's going to make me super popular, I bet. But if you just walk away and all you heard is Trump, you missed the whole point. All right, I'll stop right there. Everyone have a great day. God bless.